Guys, I'd like you to listen to this. I know that it's hard to get people's attention or hold their attention. But listen, right? All this green belt that people want to protect, and they don't want these corporate companies to build or even any houses built there at all. Look, the Stonehenge Tunnel issue is a really good example at the moment of what's happening, and that Save Darwin Oak petition. I've put some video comments on there. There's some really important things to do with all building and planning really in England, and the fact that we're being deceived and dispossessed out of our lands and the people's lands through process, mainly of council chambers, but the whole objection process. With those wind turbines, you only need one objection, but you're meant to have to go through due lawful process of everything. And the thing with petitions is, it's different to... The thing with a petition is it's more like a jury. The people are deciding. It's going to the people. Now, if I can hold anyone's attention for this long, this is really... I'm really clear on this, and more people need to do something about it. So look, for Stonehenge Tunnel, they've already had court cases, they've won court cases, but Department of Transport are just ignoring them, right? People have been to court and won, right? Now, the thing is, Stonehenge Tunnel Alliance campaign, they're raising it, they've nearly raised it. £60,000. £60,000. Now, they're raising this money, £60,000 unlawful, £60,000 they're raising privately through campaigners and people with an interest in protecting that World Heritage Site. And all that money will be going to the solicitor, the lawyer, for profit and to court fees. And they might not win. They've got to prove it in court, and who decides at that level? Well, a judge. Now, the thing is this. Most petitions to a local council, there's no set number of signatures you need. They're saying, like, if you get 3,000, you can have a full council meeting attendance, or less it can be dealt with by one specific councillor. But the thing is that, you know, there's this whole getting 5% equal to the electorate. In the rules, it says that actually none of the procedures or rules for getting a referendum apply. If you're using a certain enactment, you can propose your own procedures and rules. That means that it's like you're drafting up a legal contract when you write a petition. You're saying, like, this is what we want, but this is how we want it done, and this is the process by which we want it doing through, right? So, literally, you can say, like, all right, then, we want a referendum in our ward about this land because this concerns our land, like in the ward, right? You know, like if you've got a village of 3,000 people or a ward, you know, like of, you know, whatever, 14,000 people, you can say, oh, a referendum in this ward and we want it to be held at this polling stations and we want it, you know, you can ask for anything you want by the petition. Now, the thing is, in elections and petitions, there's actually money involved, even though it says all elections should be 3 in the Bill of Rights, but it says that there's a maximum cap spend on every ward, which is £806, right? No ward can spend more than £806. Now, when you add that all up, take into account an area like the whole of Shropshire. So all of Shropshire, every single voting ward in Shropshire, when you add it all up, it comes to less money it costs to poll the area to decide a matter, not just one ward, not just one, but the whole of the county, the whole of Shropshire. It costs less to put £9,000 less It's £9,000 less to poll all of Shropshire than it's costing for that Stonehenge Tunnel case. Now, what's the difference? Well, the first difference is all of the money will be distributed out to local businesses and to the polling stations, like the schools, polling stations that you use, and the money will go to, like electricity and, like the post to deliver the polling cards and the printers and things like that. But who will make the decision? Well, the people will decide. Either all the people of Shropshire, or I believe you could say that you want it in one ward, right? And then if the council don't like with that, then say, well, then go to the county after. If they're not happy with the outcome of what the ward decide, then they can always go to the county. Why not spend £806 polling a ward? And if the council want to challenge that, then they say, then you spend the, £50,000 polling the whole county if the council still don't like the decision that's come out with. You see, what the difference is that it's cheaper to lawfully go about the process of asking the people who it matters to in the county what they think. It's cheaper to do that, and all the money goes to local businesses or whoever's, polling stations, churches, schools, whatever, than it is to... But that's taxpayer money. But the thing is, why are they collecting £60,000 from people, right, their own money, to fund a case that might not win when it's only been decided by a judge, when that judge doesn't even live in that county? And this is who gets to decide whether we can have this referendum, even over this Smithy Bridge. Who gets to decide whether we can have the local referendum over this area here we're looking at in your map, or the Darwin Oak, or Stonehenge Tunnel? The Secretary of State for Transport, or the Secretary of State for, the Housing Department. It's actually the local council has to ask approval from the Secretary of State, but we're the ones who get the signatures. If we match the 5%, we are entitled to it. And it's anyone who's interested. The thing is this, right? Heather Peacock, who has the Save the Trees group, she handed a petition in with 2,000 signatures to a councillor, John Taylor, and he looked at it and he said, half these people aren't from our county. I don't accept this petition. But those people have got an interest in protecting that land, and they're all British subjects, and it's His Majesty's local government. The thing is, when someone applies for planning permission, right? When a claimant comes to the council with a case for planning, they want to submit a legal case to build on that land to the local council, the claimant, right? Does the council look at their postcode and go, he's not from our area, it's Rumpelstiltskin, or Boris Johnson's dad's next door neighbour? He's not from Rochdale. He's not even from Smithy Bridge. He's not even from Manchester. It's some pumpernickel from Cornwall or something, or Cumberland, right? Sorry, you can't submit planning permission here. You're not from the area. No, he doesn't. He doesn't, does he? Because he's got something called money. Money. He walks into the council... He puts a massive bag of money on the table and he said, see that money there? I don't even have to pay for this money to submit for planning permission to bring a case to you. Guess what? But that massive heap of cash there that I extorted from all these people who work for me, right? I'm buying that land there, and with that massive bag of money on the table, I can do what the hell I want. I can build a fortress if I want. I'm going to build a massive industrial estate because I've got the money. Right? Money buys it. But, mate, your postcode's not from the area. You don't even live in Manchester. You're from Pumpernickel land in Cornwall. So what you're doing in Manchester, submitting a case to the council, right, to build land there when you're not even living that area postcode. I'm bringing a case to the Manchester Authority for building. Well, we're bringing a petition to object to it with signatures who have an interest of people to object to it from Pumpernickel Land and wherever else who has an interest in protecting it. You've got an interest in building on it, but you're not even from the postcode area. So riddle me that. If you can get your head round that, riddle me that. Now, I'm asking again to the Secretary of State for Transport, right? The Secretary of State for Transport. When you match 5% of an electorate of signatures opposing a development, you have a legal right to a local referendum. And if we want a ward referendum, which only costs £806, why not? And if you don't like the outcome of it, then he can spend his £50,000 to poll the entire county. And then what's he going to do if he doesn't like that? Poll the country. Look, we're not paying £60,000 all to one private lawyer to prove to a judge whether or not something shouldn't be built or not, when all the profits go to that solicitor. When you poll a ward or poll a county for cheaper than that court case, costs less, and all the money goes back into the local area. And this is what's happening with these developments. Even when they do these developments, all the money's not going to the local people in wages because they're all on minimum wage. All these businesses are taking profits out of the area and it's going to China, or they're sending it to non-profits, funding science research, and they'd have to declare where the money's coming from, and then they can support a certain amount of it to political parties. Probably all going to the Tory party or Labour Party donations. This is not about Rochdale anymore. It's not about Smithy Bridge. It's not about Darwin Oak. And it's not about Stonehenge. This is about criminals who have obtained positions within our local government and Department of Transport and Building, and they are holding us to a ransom and extorting massive amounts of money out of us for their projects, claiming it's all for the benefit of us when it's not, right? We control where they can and can't build by what we do and don't want building. They don't control what gets built by how much money they've got. You buy building and planning permissions with the will of the people, not by a massive cash box that they've extorted from the people. I will prosecute the Department of I want to prosecute all of these councillors and ministers for racketeering because they're lying about due process and procedure. They've warped and lied to get what they want out of this country. And we need all these groups, Stonehenge Alliance, Save Darwin Oak, Save the Trees. All these groups have an interest in this procedure being put into use. Why? Firstly, it's cheaper for everyone. Secondly, we decide, not some judge. And then thirdly, all the profits are all going to private lawyers who wouldn't help us out for a pumpernickel. You know, they don't give a monkey's chuff about what happens to us unless we plonk money on the table. Where are all the pro bono lawyers? What are we paying national insurance for? What are we paying taxes for? We've got a petitions committee, right, on the council, paid for by the taxpayer. What about, when we've got disputes with this group here on YouTube? What about, what if this page gets taken down? Who's going to do the legal case for that when you're petitioning the council? Well, the petitions committee on the council, who's paying for the wages of legal services on the council? Now, have legal services on the council sworn allegiance to the electorate, the voters who vote them in, or have they sworn an allegiance to the political parties? And this is what we're getting at when it comes to oaths. Judges take oaths of allegiance to the king. when you are giving witness evidence, you swear, you have to swear on Almighty God. And the problem is that we're electing councillors and ministers in who have an allegiance to certain political parties, and they've got an allegiance to certain corporate business entities. And we're meant to be electing people who have got an allegiance to us, the people. Now, you might say, well, they voted a certain political party in. But that means to say that if that's the case, then everyone who didn't vote is regarded by the council and the ministers as null, void. All the people who refuse to vote for them, even though they're elected in the council to represent the people, those persons' opinion is null and void. Yet we've got a right to petition about independent matters, independent opinions. Are they maintaining the streets for Labour voters? Are they maintaining the streets for Tory voters? Are they not maintaining the streets for people who didn't vote, yet we're all paying tax? Now, the thing is, non-voters and people who don't elect Tory and Labour councillors still have to pay tax, right? So is their tax money void or not? We're not paying tax if half the people in the town don't vote. You know, if the voting turnout's less than 50%, but yet, does that mean the other people don't pay tax? Does that mean they're paying tax on a council that doesn't have an allegiance to them? And this is the problem with political parties now. This is the problem. They don't have an allegiance to the people or the local people. They've got an allegiance to a corporate elite. And I know that a council, it might have been Luton or somewhere in the south east, you know, a council voted against an airport expansion, and the government apparently were going to punish the council for voting against expanding on the airport, take the powers away from them. But yet, you know, so we've got problems. We actually need some legal action against these people because they're not actually, they don't have an allegiance to the people. And in fact, look at Sunak. He's a businessman in profits and investments, you know, Rosebank and all these other profiteering things. People who work on a council and are commissioners who commission works aren't allowed to be making any profit or self-gain out of their position. And what we find is many ministers are. Look at Rees-Mogg, you know, and that is being perverted. And, you know, they might tell you this and they tell you that, but when you actually look at it, the principle of it is actually illegal. And they've tricked us out of many other processes. There's a lot of things that they're doing unlawfully at the moment, and there's a lot of inconsistencies in their policy and law and changes. Even with the Petitions Committee in Parliament, you know, they're rejecting petitions that can run and should run, you know, like Stop 15-Minute Cities, which they commit legislation to stop 15-minute cities, but many of those petitions were rejected. Just they didn't want them to run and they didn't want loads of people to sign it. It's unlawful, unjust rejection. And in a lot of instances, when you attach a statement, you know, they're rejecting it, and it's a legal process, is a petition where you can, you know, you make a statement. So, you know, if you continue fighting this Greenbelt matter alone, by yourselves as a little group, you're not going to grow the group, you're not going to attract more people, and you're going to keep losing, because whatever objections you put in are just got to be rejected. This is about the whole process, and it's about us being scammed by people with a hell of a lot of money who want in life, they want the world to go how they want it to go based on how much money they've got, not on the fact that other people are living there and other people's lives are affected, and they don't want the area to change or be like this or that. If the people have got loads of money, they can move to America, they can move to Australia. They're doing it to us, and they're doing it to this country. And when Sunak comes out with these statements, oh, I want to keep Britain at the forefront of this or that, well, it doesn't matter what he wants. It's not his country. He's been elected to represent an area, constituent people. It all comes down to, when these big corporate entities are taking legal cases against the government in special courts that Matt Kennard was reporting on. There was basically, if the government doesn't do something that these big corporate companies, these billion, trillion-dollar companies want, they're suing the government because it's harming their potential profits, not even profits they've made, profits that they might make or could make. But yet, all those companies like McDonald's, KFC and so forth, they're actually affecting our projected future health. And they're pushing it, even advertising it, ultra-processed foods, and they know what the future health's going to be on the continuation of how it's going. So they're actually encouraging people to continue and their health to get even worse. So that is actually harming the future projected health of the people. And I say that the NHS should be suing those companies through the same process that these corporate companies try and sue the government. Or we should be suing the government. But I don't even know why those courts exist or how they exist. This is something for Matt Kennard. In fact, I'm going to put this on Double Down News because, this is something that Monbut should be interested in with all this pollution and rivers and fish getting toxic and stuff like that. We need, look, right, these ministers, Secretary of State and so forth, we're entitled, we're not paying £60,000 to a private lawyer who will profit from a case that a judge may or may not decide in our favour, when that judge doesn't even live in the area, it's not to do with him, when we elect a Secretary of State for Transport, and we get enough signatures to say, look, this is important, people are concerned, we want a vote on it. And the process of asking everyone, the public, of what they want is cheaper than the court case. And it will actually get the verdict of what the people in the area want. So the Secretary of State for Transport, as far as I am concerned, is a traitor to the nation. He's an Englishman who is a traitor to his own country because he is a servant of greed and money and profits. And it doesn't matter what the profits are for. Oh, it's disability scooters, disability machines, I'm helping people. It's charitable. Well, I'll say to the Secretary of State for Transport, all the non-profits that all these solicitors are donating to out of the proceeds, that they don't have to declare the non-profits who can help political parties, I want to see all of where the money of non-profits is coming from that they're allowed to donate to political parties. And I want to see all the profits for lawyers like Stonehenge Tunnel lawyer on £60,000 if they're donating to non-profits, and if those non-profits are passing their money on to the Tory war chest for the political party that you've all got allegiance with. And if it is, I am going to have that man arrested. I'm going to have him arrested for racketeering, extorting money, as his position as Secretary of State for Transport. He's denying a process of the local electorate in favour of it being fleeced, forcing it to be fleeced by a lawyer and a judge whose proceeds are going to non-profits who are then going into the Tory war chest to get him elected. And poor Secretary of State for Transport. Now, he is going to prison for racketeering because he's commissioning a highway and obstructing us from a local referendum in favour of us being forced to use private money, £60,000, to a lawyer that's going into his Tory war chest and putting him in position. Now, if the Secretary of State for Transport does not give the local referendum when we match the 5%, then he can go to jail. Because when we disclose where all the Tory war chest money is coming from, it's coming from lawyers and solicitors that we're being forced to use because he's obstructing us from having the say in it. That means that we are being controlled by an elite business class who are bossing us and extorting money and dictating the form and shape of our surrounding area and lands around us, which means we're being bossed by thieves and criminals.